G'day everybody, thanks for tuning in for Dodgy Coit's first run of the Alexander Part 1 Fist of the Father raid. This is on the OCE server. We've gone in on the duty roulette, and I'm happy to say that there were 3 people, including myself, in this raid that were doing it for the first time. The reason I'm happy to see that is it shows that the burgeoning population on the Oceanic servers consists of people who are starting to unlock the old content, starting to do the raids, and more importantly, do them in the duty roulette. Something that's been talked about quite a bit is a possible emergent culture of party finder only activity. Something you really want to try and avoid if you can, because the duty roulette is what brings old players and new players together, experienced people and fresh people doing content together and learning as a group. Now, we had what I think was a fantastic run. There was a wipe right near the end of the raid because we were unfamiliar with the mechanic with the end boss when he drops the second boss, who do have to be separated to successfully complete the end of this raid. If you don't separate them, they double up on damage, and it's almost certain that you're going to have a party wipe, which is exactly what happened. But everyone was cool about it. We went back in for the end fight. Somebody in the group who was experienced explained the mechanic. Everyone was cool with that, and we had a very easy complete at the end. I was very happy with this run. I went in not expecting to get the radar unlocked, come in on the duty roulette. It did, and it was just great. Now, I wanted to get that out of the way quickly because what I really want to talk about today is the housing situation on the Oceanic servers. Now, this is going to be a bit salty, so strap in. The allocation of the FC housing and the personal housing for the European, American, JP servers is a great idea. It's given FCs that previously were not able to get housing the opportunity and an almost certainty of all of the FCs on those servers finally securing the housing that they want for their fair company, and at the same time given a reasonable addition to the amount of personal housing available to players on the servers who may not have been able to secure their housing in the housing savage that we know exists in Final Fantasy XIV. Unfortunately, this is not the situation on the Oceanic servers. On these servers, there has been no housing up until now. This is the very first release across the board of housing for everybody on Materia. Why is this a problem? Because when you look at the numbers, we have so few fair companies compared to players, and yet more than 3/4 of the allocation has gone towards fair companies. A very small proportion. To put the numbers in, to give you a good idea of what I'm talking about, I play on Zurvan. It has one of the lowest populations in Materia. We're looking at about 18,000 players. Because the FC release is wards 1 to 18 and the personal release is wards 19 to 24, you get a total release of 1,800 personal housing plots across the Zurvan world with 18,000 players. So it doesn't take a genius to work out that roughly 9 out of 10 people are going to miss out. Now, Coit, you might say, not everybody is going to be cashed up, ready to get housing, and I have to argue against that because being a bit of a noob, only having played for 9 months and coming in fresh with not much cash on this server, just by playing dungeons, just by doing roulettes, and just by not spending cash, I have more than double the gil I need to pick up my housing permit and buy the little odds and sods that I will need to outfit my house. So I believe that just about everybody does have enough gil to get into the housing game at this point. But quite, you might say, when I look at the plots, there seem to be a great many that have no bids on them, or maybe just the one. Well, you know, if you look at the forums, and if you look at all the posts on Facebook and the various groups to do a Final Fantasy XIV, the hot take for the pro gamer is to wait till the very last day for the bid so that you can ensure that you put in your bid on a house that either has none or very few to maximise your chancing. So it's not going to be until Easter Sunday afternoon when we truly find out how dire the situation actually is. And I think we're going to find that a lot of people are going to be missing out. I really think that Square Enix should have examined the Oceanic server situation, the split of the numbers with the FCs and the personal housing, and made a slightly different allocation that would have been much more suitable for people on the servers. You could have gone half and half and still made sure that every single FC got housing. And not just got housing, probably every FC would have got a large with a half and half split on the wards. And the chances of personal housing would have been so much more palatable, so much more equitable for people who have been hanging in there like me for more than 6 months that did not spend the gil while they were on the JP server or the European server. Maybe you're in America, but you wouldn't have dumped gil into housing as a new player knowing you were moving to OCE when it opened. Now, the other problem I see that this creates is with small FCs being formed specifically to secure housing. The problem there is you're going to get a whole heap of FCs. I know there's a 30-day wait that the FC has to be established before then, but if we keep with this split, these newly formed FCs, just for the purpose of securing housing, all with 4 players in them, with no intention of interacting socially as a proper guild, no intention of doing content, just for the housing, is going to be an extremely antisocial, long-term problem on the Materia servers if this continues. I fully expect Square Enix to have a look at the situation, reevaluate what they've done, and change the split. If they don't, we're going to have a long-term problem. Large guilds doing content, doing their map hunts, doing their mount farms, doing the raids together, doing the quests together, talking to each other, the older players and the new, about the MSQ, about all the various unlocks in the game, is how this game develops a proper social atmosphere that makes the server live and breathe. And this sets us up for a situation where that is not going to happen purely because people want their housing. It's a serious problem. We've also seen a couple of bugs with this release to do with the housing and the bidding. Several people in my FC have bid on one property, perhaps a large in a couple cases, and when they've gone to check their timers, find out that somehow they've been allocated to a bid on a medium. Myself personally have experienced this, where I looked at one small, didn't like it, touched the placard, went to another small, decided this was the one, bid on that placard, saw the acceptance of the bid, logged into the game the next day and found that the bid was now registered against that first placard I'd looked at. This is a serious problem. I believe the hotfix may have been attempting to address it, but it has not changed since the hotfix. My bid still stands on the first property I looked at, which I'll take. I mean, I'll take it. But this is a problem. Now, the rant is over. 6.1 was amazing. Okay, really happy with the content. The changes to the dungeons are fantastic. The new Toto Rack, the new Castrum, the new Prey, everything has just been bloody fantastic. I have no complaints about anything. But please, for the love of God, Square Enix, examine the OCE situation, which is unique from the other servers. Have a look at the housing, and please put out a lifeline. Give us a hand. We'd really appreciate it. Now, if you have an opinion, please leave a comment. Likes and shares are appreciated, of course, but the more people that chip in on this, the more weight it might carry. Thanks everyone for tuning in. That's Coit out.